Hi, I'm James Wood from Castle Painting, and I'm the project manager. Today we're going to talk to you about what to expect on exterior painting. So it all starts with a phone call. I want to come out, or the painter assigned to your job wants to come out and take a look at the house. Are there any areas of concern that you have? Any knot holes we have to fill? Loose paint we need to scrape off? Any prep at all? And then we want to schedule the pressure washing. You don't have to be home for the pressure washing, but we do obviously ask that your windows are closed so we don't spray water into the rooms. That would be bad. We also want to know if there are any windows that you're concerned of water getting in. If you've noticed that, we want to be gentle around those and make sure they're not soaked. The other thing we need you to do, if you can, move any furniture away from the house. If you can't, we'll obviously do that for you. But it just makes things easier as we're walking along and pressure washing. Next, we'll let that dry overnight. Depending on the weather, it might take 2-3 days. Obviously, if it's going to rain that night or is raining when we're washing, we'll let the house dry out as much as possible before we start painting. When we're there doing the pressure washing, if you have colors in mind, that would be great to know so that we have it when we get started. If you don't, I suggest you take a look at your neighborhood, what colors suit it. You may have seen a house around the corner, or as you're driving, oh, that would look really good for our house. Let's do that. Anyway, just have some idea. And if you can't figure that out, get a designer in and they can help you. They're very good at all of this. So when we get there for the next day, or for when we start painting, we'll take care of all the prep work first. Caulking around windows, any loose boards, any nails sticking out if it's a wood-sided house, we'll bang those in. Scrape any paint, sanding, whatever needs to be done. Now, because some of the compounds do take overnight to dry, we'll do all the prep in the first day if possible and let it sit overnight, and it'll be dry the next morning when we come. So when we come to actually start the painting, ideally the next day, we'll pick a side of the house and start with masking the windows if we're spraying the paint. It's pretty simple, just paper or plastic, masking tape around your windows so I don't spray paint all over them. We'll also take down all the downspouts so that we can get the paint in behind those as well. Don't worry, we'll put them back up if it's going to rain. All right, so as we're painting, we're going to try and make sure that everything is as clean as possible, especially if you have kids. We don't want things that they can trip over, or, if you have a pet, sometimes they do like to lick paint. It's a weird thing. I once had a dog lick the paint off a door I just painted. It's bizarre, but it does happen. So we're just trying to make sure everything's secure and clean while we're working along. At the end of each day, we'll make sure our ladders and all of our equipment is secure and locked up, ideally somewhere in your yard or at the side of the house so it's out of the way. Also, before we leave for the day, we will remove the masking from the windows. That way you can open them at night, especially if you need a breeze. Obviously, exterior painting is done in the hotter weather. You'll want a window open. I don't want to seal up your house so you can't get any air. So we'll let the paint dry overnight, come back the next day, figure out what we can do in that day, and start again. Mask the windows, make sure the downpipes are down, spray it out, remove the masking, end the day, and we'll go from there. What I do like to do is do all the walls first, and all the window trims, fascia, and soffits, if we're doing the soffits. Do those after we do all the walls. It just saves time and more masking. Nearing the end of the job, if we're doing the doors, like your front door or back door, they're usually a different color, a fancy color. There's actually a door paint just for front doors. It's pretty wild. What I do for that is we do that the second to last day, just because they do need time to dry. I'll usually remove the weather stripping. That way, if you do have to go out, we can close the door and the weather stripping won't stick to the wet paint. You can latch the door and everything's fine. You can leave it. If you are going to be home, we ask you to keep the door open for at least 4 hours. That's a good drying time, and then you can secure the door when we're done. At the end of the job, I will walk around with you, or the painter assigned to your job will walk around with you if you've noticed any deficiencies or things we might have missed. Sometimes there's a little bit of the wall paint on the window trim. We got to take care of that. Depending on the size of your house, sometimes it's possible we'll miss something, but we do our best not to. So we will walk around with you to make sure you're happy with everything before we leave. And then, of course, we will leave you touch-up paint, which is very important because if you want to repaint your house later, you have the codes and the paint that we used. And also, you don't have to go buy a new can, which won't match exactly what we did, because sometimes the tint will be a little bit different. and it's just easier to have on hand. I'll usually leave you about a gallon, half a gallon to a gallon of everything we've used, just so you have it. You know, it comes in handy if you accidentally hit it with the rake or whatever it is you're doing on the house. You'll have the paint there with you. Yeah, so we just want to keep it as simple as possible. Like interior painting, we don't want to be intrusive. We want to get the job done and make it as safe as possible for everyone. It's a very simple process. We just have to work together to do it. That's it. Thanks.